Hi folks, FORRIS here. Today on Rolling Tape, we have Mara Lesemann. She's going to talk about women in filmmaking, and she has some great advice to offer. Now, let's roll tape.
This episode brought to you by Spoof Dance Film Festival. Make parody commercials and bring the funny.
Welcome to the show, Mara.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, FORRIS.
All right, now let's talk about your two films that you've already made quickly, and then let's hear some advice for women in filmmaking.
Sure. My first feature was called Surviving Family. It's a movie that stars Billy Magnuson, who's been seen in a lot of stuff recently. He was in Bridge of Spies. He was in the recent series about O.J. Simpson. He's an excellent young actor. But anyway, Surviving Family is about a young woman from a very dysfunctional family who comes home for the first time in 2 years, unexpectedly, with her fiance in tow and a plan to get married in 5 days. And it's a story that touches on very difficult subjects like alcoholism, mental illness, and suicide, but it does it with love and also with a sense of humor. And I'm very proud of the movie. It's screened in 19 different film festivals. You can get it now on iTunes and on Amazon Prime, and I hope people will check it out. Now, my second feature is a lot lighter. It's called Detours, and it's a road trip movie about a father and daughter, and it's about a woman who has to move to Florida to start a new job, and she travels south with her widowed dad and her mom's ashes in a coffee can. And it's really a story about starting over at any age. We shot it running from New York City all the way down to Florida with a fantastic cast, and I'm very excited about it.
Now, did you write both of these films?
I wrote both of them and I produced them. I did not direct them. I like having a second set of eyes in them. The first one, Surviving Family, was directed by a wonderful young woman named Laura Tees, and Detours was directed by a terrific guy who mostly works with as a acting coach in New York City by the name of Rob McCaskill. And they're both terrific people, different with different strengths, but wonderful to work with.
What advice would you offer to a young girl or even an adult woman who wants to do this, but fears that it's mostly a man-dominated industry?
I'd offer a few bits of advice. One is to start small. We all want to make features. We all want to see our movies up there on the big screen, but start small. Start with a movie, a screenplay, and then a movie that's 5 minutes or less. Something that you can bite off, and you can shoot it within a weekend. You can edit it in a few days and get it into a few festivals, even just get it onto YouTube. Anything so that it gets out there. Because if there's one thing that actors hate, and I know you can probably relate to this, is to never have anyone see their movie. It's like if you do the work and no one sees it, that is extraordinarily frustrating. So even if a movie just gets on YouTube, that's great. Somebody sees it. But don't be afraid to just jump in there and do it. The other thing is, you know what, you're right. It is in many ways still a male-dominated world, and you just got to deal with that. I, in a way, was lucky because I got used to doing that in banking. When I started out in banking in the early 1980s, I would often go into a room and be the only woman there. I worked in trading rooms for many years, so I learned to deal with bad language and angry people and guys throwing phones. And, I learned to do it with the best of them. I can throw a fit like there's nobody's business. Not that anybody should do that, but, I'm not intimidated by it because I've seen it and I've done it. The thing is, as a woman, you have to accept the fact that you're probably going to work with a lot of men. They're going to be bigger than you, physically stronger than you, and you cannot let them intimidate them. There were a couple of times, particularly on Detours, when I just had to put my foot down and say, no, I'm in charge. This is my decision. You guys all had input on it, and this is just the way it is. And sometimes you have to raise your voice. And women, for better or worse, tend to be more collegial than men. We like consensus. We like people to agree. But sometimes that's just not going to happen. And you just have to be willing to put your foot down and accept the fact that, you know what, people may get angry at you. And that's just the way it is. If it's your project, you have to just accept that. The other thing is, figure out what your target audience is. There's basically 4 quadrants. One is women under 30, then women over 30, men under 30, and men over 30. Figure out first your number 1 target and then your secondary target. In my case, for Detours, women over 30 are my first target, men over 30 are my second target. Only the big Hollywood blockbusters are really going to be able to target all 4 quadrants. And that's really why they refer to them a lot of times as tentpole movies, because they're going to put a tent over the entire universe and try to encompass everyone. I was talking with a distributor recently who is very interested in Detours, and she agreed with me completely on what the 2 targets were. And the way she described it was, the Detours is about, I thought I found Prince Charming and then it all turned to shit, which is very much what it is. And she said, women over 30 love that. We've all been there. Women under 30 are still looking for Prince Charming. They don't want to hear about it. Men over 30 can relate. You know, they've all been down that same street of, we thought we had it, we thought we found it, and then we didn't. So you can't try to target everything, and be realistic. The other thing that is frustrating to women, and I think we just have to keep banging away at it, is that women are directing and producing and writing more and more low-budget indie features. And even if you go to high-profile festivals like Cannes or Sundance, you're going to see a lot of things that are run by women. But you don't see as many movies that are like the $100 to $150 million movies helmed by women. And there's a lot of frustration in women in the industry right now, because we feel like the men who have a successful first or second low budget feature are far more likely to get that jump up to the big budget movies than women are. But we got to just keep banging away at it. And to a certain extent, I think that as women become power players more and more and become the front office people who are making the decisions, we're going to have those opportunities. And you can go in a corner once in a while and throw things and scream in frustration, but then you gotta, as my stepdaughter would say, pull up your big girl pants and go out there and face the world.
Do you feel it's gotten better over the past, say, 5 years?
Yes.
And where do you see it in the next 5?
I definitely think it's gotten better, in the sense that when I go to a festival or when I just go online in different forums, I see far more women than I used to in all segments of the world, writing, directing, producing, cinematographers. It has been extremely unusual to see women behind the camera. We've got more and more of us doing that. So yes, I absolutely think it's getting better, and I just going to think it's going to continue to go in that direction. The success of even like the high profile women, even someone like Angelina Jolie, who we don't usually look at as someone who has to fight to get ahead, because this is a woman who's been tremendously successful as an actress, but now she had to fight to get behind the camera and to get people to take her seriously, and to get to direct not just a female-led movie, but also male-led movies as well. And that's kind of where we're also trying to make progress. So I think it's going to be a slow road, but I think we're definitely going to get there. And you're also seeing more women in decision-making positions at the big studios. And as that continues, that's going to help women behind the camera and at the keyboard as well.
And I want to say that I've worked on a few short films, and over the past, I've been working on them for a few years, and I've seen a lot more women involved as crew. I worked on one where it was a female DP, and she knew what she wanted. Where sometimes you see guys are a little more wishy-washy, and she's like, no, this is what I want, and this is how it's going to go down. And I've just worked on a film that was produced by and directed by two wonderful women, and just a wonderful project to work on. But like you say, women really seem to know what they want, whereas guys are kind of like a little bit more in space.
Well, some of that could be sort of self-selection, because when a woman goes into a male-dominated field, you have to be that much more sure that you want it, and you're going to sit down and think about it damned hard before you go forward. Whereas because it's a little bit easier for a guy, you might get a broader range of men coming into it and not as much self-selection as you do among the women. So I would say there are probably as many crappy women as there are crappy men, but they may just not put themselves forward in the same way. Because if you aren't 100% confident that you're willing to jump into this, you're probably going to take a step back.
All right, Mara, best of luck on your films.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to talk with you, FORRIS.
Thanks for being on Rolling Tape.
My pleasure.